Air conditioner is noisy.
Yeah. Should have like a little fan or something. We are live.
We are doing it. It is Tuesday. It's gonna be a beautiful day.
As always.
How are you feeling?
I'm
Was that a
fantastic.
good meditation for you?
Dude, that was so great.
Was it?
It just brings everything in alignment, gets some regrounding, focused, and back to center. It's one of my favorites. It's therapy. It's a medicine. Thank you, Nikki. I feel like I'm cut off here.
Did you get a haircut?
It's shorter than usual.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, usually I have a lady, and morning Carmen, and she wasn't available for like an extra week, and I was like, there's no way. So I went to this barber place everyone raves about. I'm like, just number one size and a little at the top. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I was like, okay.
Well, now it's just gonna be that much longer before you have to get
Exactly.
it.
I'm like, hey, maybe now I can go 3 weeks without a haircut,
Yeah.
because it grows like a freaking weed, which I'm happy about. I'm not complaining that my hair grows wild, because there's some people that are not able to grow hair.
That's
So
true.
I'm not complaining. Yeah.
And there's others who have an excess of it. And
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Halfley.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. How do we expand
Oh,
this?
there we go. Hey, Julie.
How you feeling with that? Is that good?
With what?
With the positioning of the video?
Yes.
Are you framed?
Well,
Well,
I was
you
just like cut
desire it?
off,
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Good. Let me just do my little thing and share. Public post.
Hey, big sis. Lighting's good. Sounds good. Thanks, Nikki.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, good feedback.
Yeah, because we're always screwing around
Yeah, we don't
with
know.
the sound. I mean, some days we're on point.
Yeah, sometimes.
I wonder how many people listened to the first 5 minutes of last time and were like, forget this, I can't hear anything, I'm out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Good morning. Having a good hair day? I guess. I don't know. I'm having a day. It's just my normal thing.
Yeah. I think you look good, man.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Let's do this. I'm ready.
Yeah. So, I've been really pondering the deeper message of everything going on in the world, and found myself feeling a bit funky the past couple days. And obviously, as we conversed about it, it was me neglecting my practice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no wonder. The practice is what keeps me centered and connected.
Totally.
And, the environment is still quite heavy. And, I found myself getting a little caught up about the big fire that was out east, and that was the place that I take my kids to go play, and it's no longer there. I mean, we drove to the top of those mountains this last winter and built a snowman together, and now it no longer exists. And so...
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I got something there. Okay.
Yeah. So I was feeling that. And, we conversed about it, and it was dropping back into my practice and getting centered. Because how useful is it for us to be in that fear vibration? Because that's what's creating what we experience.
Well,
we're feeding it.
And the thing is, it's so easy and natural to slip right into it. It takes no effort. It takes no thought. It requires nothing from us to slip into that so effortlessly. Maybe I'm just speaking from I. Yet when I have the awareness that I've slipped into there, now it takes some desire and willpower to pull out.
Yeah. For those of you who are with us, our beautiful tribe, have you guys experienced a dip in your vibration at times over the past couple weeks?
Yeah. I'll say for myself, so not this week, and not the last 2 weeks, but the week before that, I was off my morning ritual completely. In fact, the only time I was in it, let's see who it was. was when I came over for our Tuesday, and we went through our morning practice. But that whole week, but I gave myself permission too. So I didn't like wake up and be like, nah, I don't want to do it. Like I took the week off intentionally because my vibe was low, because my self-love cup was empty. You would think I would be on my practice to increase it, but I really just wanted to sit with it and experience it all and be like, let it go to hell. I'm gonna reset. Yet I was very connected to the heaviness and negativity around me and starting to identify with it a lot. Like my vibe was super low. The good news through all of that was just like the fire destroyed kind of the place where you made the snowman. Like, I was watching this thing on a nature show last night. There's this plant that it really only gets to reproduce when there's a fire. It could wait 100 years for a fire so that it could release its seeds. And so the thing with the kids, right? Like you had a beautiful memory there, and so when the thing burns down, it's like, oh, it's so sad that's all gone. But really, what's the clinging to the attachment of the memory, and what's wrong with that burning down and having a rebirth? Like, where is this need for attachment to everything?
Versus just sit with it and enjoy it for the experience that I had created.
Yes, and let it be and let it go at that, because there'll be more. It wasn't the last memory. It wasn't the first. So why not be more fluid and just allow things to unfold, allow things to be as they are, instead of this need to cling to something and hold on to it so that it doesn't leave, which I think is the just source of human suffering, the clingingness.
Yeah, that was part living in the past.
Yeah.
You know.
And how is that serving you moving forward? Like if we're still living in the past, that means then we're still thinking the thoughts we thought yesterday, which means then we're going to be predictable today. Because if there's no new thoughts today, there's no new choices or behaviors, and therefore experiences and feelings.
Yeah.
Right? So we're just becoming predictable and reliving the past.
Yeah.
It's not a productive way of being.
Yeah, I've experienced that. Not productive. Jessica, absolutely. It is a good reminder as to why we developed a practice to begin with, to keep in that elevated state. You know, it is our duty to turn to the light. If we allow our vibration to dip, we are broadcasting that energetic signature, and we were creating more of that in the collective. And, you know, if we're observing our environment through our five senses right now, we can see that there's a lot of fear. And if that is not what we desire to experience, it starts with I.
Yeah, like who gets to decide what our experience is? I think this is the biggest thing for me right now. This is my big kick of like, yes, the collective is still in fear, and Arizona's like, you know, all renewed coronavirus and all these cases, and the, you know, now the masks that are mandatory, all this stuff going on, and that's just with our environment. But what about with people's jobs and relationships and everything else? Like, there's always going to be a bit of turmoil, and there's always going to be a bit of scarcity and lack and fear going on in the collective. And so knowing that that's what is, how do I show up powerfully in my reality to create what I desire? And like, here's a question. What if we were to all, like tonight, just sit in bed by yourself and ask one simple question? What am I doing? What stupid things am I doing on a consistent basis that are totally screwing up my creation? Totally screwing up my life. Now, to ask that question, like, means you really desire to know the answer, right? To just utter the words just for the sake of saying it is useless. But to really want to know, like, what am I doing? How am I being consistently that's screwing me from creating the life I desire? And as you always say, it's only when you ask the question can you hear the answer, right? And to hear those things and just say, what is my attachment to that? That negative behavior, that negative lens, that fear base. Like, why is that still a thing within me? And how can I be responsible to look at it, address it, and move past it? Because with all this stuff going on in the collective and in our environment, how do I become responsible and go create the life I desire to live? Like, what is your chief aim? What are you going for? Like, and I think it should be, what is the highest and best version I can conceive of myself?
Mm.
And what am I going to do today as soon as I open my eyes and say, like you said, who do I want to be today? What kind of impact do I desire to make? And, like, go do that. Because really my question is, what could be more important than defining what your aim is and who you desire to be and what you intend to create? What's more important than that? And if the answer is nothing, then what the hell are you doing?
Yep. I suppose this ties into a concept I was taught a while back. Are you drifting or are you directed?
Ooh.
And directed meaning you have an objective of what you want to experience in this world, and perhaps it is different than what you are currently experiencing.
Yeah.
So you have something to feed energy into.
Ooh.
Versus drifting
Yeah.
is just kind of waking up and saying, "Oh, you know what? Whatever the day is going to bring me is what
Yeah.
the day is going to bring me."
Which boggles my mind because I know we believe, so I'll speak for us, like humans are like goal achieving an aim driven species, right? Like our brain, the prefrontal cortex that human beings possess, right? That's a crowning achievement of mankind, gives us the ability, it's a servo mechanism. We set an aim, a destination, and it goes for it, right? And the beautiful thing of all is, like in psychocybernetics, it takes no effort. Like once you set that desire and you feed it energy and you set it in place like a thermostat, the mind is going to want to hit it. It's its aim, it's where it's going. And it tracks deviations and makes course corrections along the way, right? So our brain is always successful at going towards an aim. Now the question becomes, are we intentional about what that aim is? Or do we wake up in the morning and just say, whatever happens today happens, like here we go. If I can just make it through the day and survive, I'm good. Or am I aiming towards the highest and best version of myself and allowing my beautiful, brilliant, successful brain to like show me the way?
Yeah, I love that. Good morning to you, Samantha. So if I can create some space to be a bit woo-woo here, unpacking this idea, I always believe that there's a deeper message to what we experience in our outer reality. And as we spoke about this morning, corona means crown in Latin. And if we have a virus of the crown, a virus is a disruptor, a code that scrambles things, prevents them from working the way they should be working. And in Eastern philosophy, our crown, looking at us as an energetic body, our crown is our connection to spirit. And so I believe that what we are experiencing is a disconnection from source. And what happens is that now we are living through our five senses and we're experiencing the world around us. And as we experience the world around us, and allow that to make us feel a certain way, we continue to perpetuate that cycle. It was said, "Thou shalt love no other God." In the Christians, somewhere in the Bible, I don't know what verse, and what's happening is we're no longer connected to spirit. We're looking at our outer reality, and that's what we're putting all of our energy into. We have this virus, this disconnection from spirit. And Graham Hancock, who was, I think, an anthropologist and an author, studied indigenous cultures all over the world. And he had spent a lot of time with the shamans in the jungle, the medicine workers. And he said, when you ask the shamans, they can see, we're in it. We're a fish in water with the way we experience our world. And the shamans and people outside in different types of culture can actually witness us from more of an objective lens. And they said the problem is simple with the Western world. You're sick, and you have severed your connection to spirit. This is a quote. And if you don't reconnect, you'll bring the house of cards down around you. So the idea is, if we are experiencing this fear in the world, we must turn within. We must know that Source, God, love, light, that's the only answer. And to go in there and address those fears and open up that shadow, shine some light on
Yeah.
it.
Well, let me ask you a question with all of that. I'm totally in alignment with this, but at what age in our Western educational system do we learn about this?
Yeah.
And so as adults, we're like, oh, well, you're telling me this now. Well, whose fault is this? Who are we to blame for this predicament?
Yeah.
And who's going to fix it? I mean, that seems to be the vibe, at least that I see a lot of. It's that victim mentality of well, this is happening to me. This is just my environment. It's what is. Versus looking within and saying, what's my aim? Who do I desire to be? And how do I desire to contribute back to the collective?
Appreciate that you appreciate Mr. Hancock, Samantha. So, what is it that we have to really be afraid of? The water is still on. The food is still here. And
AC.
Yeah, that's a necessity here in the desert. So we have these basic human needs here: food, water, shelter. None of that is being jeopardized. And if a virus is something that we are afraid of, the worst thing you could do to your immune system is to live in stress. And so what would have us not go get connected? As Dispenza says, disease can't exist in a body of light when you're connected to spirit or source or whatever name you would like to call it. All is well in the world. And perhaps if all 7.8 billion of us went within and asked those questions, what are we so afraid of? And we addressed those collective fears, we would shift and we would create a different world. But right now, the collective is feeling the fear. So, in my opinion, it is all of our duty to really be in our practice and really turn on that inner light.
Totally. Well, and how long has your path been in this spiritual connection, growing yourself, right? Healing those past traumas that were just neutral events that you assign meaning and significance to, right? And then to your daily practice and playing with that and increasing it. Because I don't believe that an average human being would intentionally choose fear, scarcity, anxiety. It's just simply a lack of consciousness. It's a lack of awareness. And so, how long you've been on your path. I was thinking about this last night. October would be 6 years for me. So, 5.5 years so far. And how far have you come? How much have you grown?
Yeah.
And how beautiful is it now to have this awareness, to choose differently, compared to before we were just asleep.
Yeah.
Just unaware. And so, again, what is that aim of who we desire to be, who we're becoming? Not only to save self, but to also contribute that to the collective of that healthy, happy, loving state of being for everybody. Love and light.
Yeah, and could you possibly be an inspiration to others that are watching you? And you have no idea who is observing your behavior.
The ripple effect.
And how you show up.
Totally. Well, even at Libertas, right? some people coming in and they're not quite familiar with the philosophy of we're creators, not spectators, as within, so without, all these things, right? And then it takes about 90 days for people to be like, okay, I'm all in. And then about another 90 days to really start practicing that stuff, to notice a significant shift in their beingness, right? But the coolest thing of all is this. Then they come back and they say, so, my honey says that they notice me differently. I'm smiling more, I have higher energy, I'm more positive, and my kids are saying the same thing, and they're like, where'd my mom or dad go? Like, what happened to them, right? But then they start doing it. So the agent that's growing themselves, that has a vision, that like knows who they're becoming intentionally by design, are starting to be love, be light, be happy. And they're radiating that to their family. And now their family's jumping on board. And then what about their friends and an extended family, right? Like there's this massive ripple effect, and it starts with I. And so again, if you're not defining who you're becoming, what are you doing besides living on repeat every single day? And what's more important than defining that aim and deciding that this is the direction I'm going to go? I mean, Joe Dispenza says that ignorance in this time in our history is a choice because there's information all around us. There's no lack of or shortage of mentors or teachers or organizations or groups that already understand all of this. Yeah. So it's not for lack of information.
Yeah, it is a choice. So let me unpack that a bit. You talk of people joining your organization, and let's say 90 days, it's starting to click, it's starting to pop. Like, what are some of those things that you've observed that have caused people to all of a sudden get it, or desire to build a practice and adopt this new? It's almost an ideology of reality.
Yeah.
Right before it was like Newtonian physics and something must happen first for you to feel the effect. And quantum physics is actually the next step further to see that we are actually creating our environment, right? Based on our beliefs and thought processes, we experience our reality. So as people make this shift, what are you seeing that's causing it to click?
I think it's the repetition.
Okay.
That's a phenomenal question. I'm so glad you asked that. No one's ever asked me that. So I believe it is. They come in, and it's a weekly basis, right? And then it's just listening to not only me speak about these kinds of things, but as you know, because you've been in tons of our meetings, it's listening to the agents and their awareness about the information that they're hearing and applying it and adopting it.
Yeah.
And then so a new person comes in and they hear that this person, here's where they were, here's where they are now, and here's what they did to get there. And it just validates what I had said, right? Because it's not like my way. I'm not the guru. I'm not the messiah. I simply just became an excellent student of myself and the material, and then regurgitate and share my experiences. So it's not my information I'm coming up with. I'm just sharing what's been around for thousands of years. And so they start seeing evidence in other people that are taking on the coaching, taking on the message and applying it, and those people are creating a way bigger and better lifestyle, and then sharing it with everybody about what their wins are, what their struggles were, what their struggles are now, and how they're overcoming those things. And what's always the answer? To go within. Is it not? We are our source of everything.
Yeah.
The kingdom of heaven exists within. And so those people listening to the ones that are growing and having these amazing awarenesses and manifesting beautiful things in their life, the people ask them, what are you doing? Oh, what Justin said, morning ritual. I'm writing out gratitude. I'm meditating, becoming familiar with myself, becoming more familiar with my unconscious habits and way of being, and noticing and choosing different, and letting go of the judgment and negative opinions and ideals I have of myself, stepping into my greater self, having an aim, and day by day choosing intentionally to move towards that aim. So it's a lot of those things, but it's definitely staying committed to the practice.
Yeah.
If nothing else, committed to the practice of being around other like-minded people.
Yeah. Yeah.
because
I'm glad you mentioned that.
it takes a village, it takes a collective.
So, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we talk of practice as a ritual in the morning to elevate your state of being before you go into your doing. So just to be clear on that, and those methods look many different ways. People try on different things to see how they fit. And eventually they find really good fits and they continue to tweak them, as I do years and years later. But the idea is that we no longer have to move about in the world and force things to happen. It's no longer, if it's to be, it's up to me. Let me just roll up my sleeves here.
Grind it out.
Yeah, I would say it's go within and experience yourself as powerful. And then the outer reality, they would call it alchemization, your thoughts then collapse energy and matter into form, and you experience a different world, which sounds crazy. Adriana, you're absolutely right. This is not what I was taught in school. And I don't believe that any of the Western education was designed to foster a spiritual connection. It's significantly different in the East. And I do believe, to your point, as you mentioned, we are being awakened to the Matrix. This idea that we are all cogs in this giant machine of perpetual consumerism, where we rob from the mother, the earth, we exploit its resources for personal gain, and we have no thought of the future as to what we're doing and experiencing. I do believe we are waking up, and I think that a lot of the things that are being shaken up is we have been in a construct and a set belief system for so long, and now those beliefs are starting to get rocked. And so back to this whole idea of virus, I don't think it's the virus. There is a deeper message to it.
Yeah, I think the message is like, wake the F up.
Yeah. Ricardo, good morning. And Alex, I agree, it is the consistency. So back to your weekly meeting, the idea is that when you first hear a concept, oh, that sounds wonderful. But how is it that I go about in my world that's already been created, my own specific contexts, and then apply this concept? But the idea is you get a subtle awareness, and then you go back into your world. And then you have a little aha, nothing perhaps life-changing, but just a little shift. And then you come back into the work and you learn a little bit more and you go back, and now your lens has been expanded. And so the idea is to stay committed to the work. And I can say that the payoff is you then move into this thing called creatorhood, where you exist in this plane and you get to experience what you desire to experience from a place of true choice. See, most of us move about in the world and everything is created for us, and we just think that, oh man, you know what, sometimes it's sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, and the wind is just kind of blowing whatever direction it wants to blow, and I'm just kind of along for the ride. And that's not a wrong way of being. Don't hear me say that. It is all a choice. But see, where I'm at is I know that I have a gift to share. I've tapped into it. I've experienced it. And a desire to use that for good in the world. And also experience what I desire to experience.
Yeah. Well, and with that, I know what you're talking about. Like, when we were talking about this morning in the run. On the other side of that pain is freedom. On the other side of that fear is courage. And so you used the word earlier, alchemist. What is an alchemist? An alchemist is takes someone that could take a base metal and turn it into something precious like gold, right? So we all are alchemists in our own way. How do you take the trauma of the past and then go to that state and remove the negative energy from it? That's wisdom, and that's alchemist, right? So it's removing these identities and labels from the past. And not that you have to go back and revisit all that trauma. No. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about going back and reliving it. I'm simply talking about going back there and realizing I was how old? An event happened. It had nothing to do with me. It was about them. They did the best they could. I made a meaning and associated that with who I am as an identity, and that was a child that did that. Yet now as a 38-year-old man, I have metacognition. Higher mental faculties, the will, intuition, memory, all these beautiful things that I can rewrite all of that past so that I'm not carrying it forward. In my opinion, that's alchemy. And we all possess that ability.
Yeah.
Because again, the servo mechanism, setting a target aim and orienting ourselves, everything about ourselves, towards that ideal self. Because again, what in the hell else are you doing that's more important than that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine existing in a world where all 7.8 billion unique expressions of the divine brought their deepest gifts to share with the world? I mean, imagine what that would look like. But we must cast away the fear. We must know that we are the creator of our realities, individually and collectively. That we are not the spectator of it. We can choose that if we desire. We do have free will.
Yep. But as Alex pointed out, consistency is the key. Like, how many times have you, I'm speaking from have I listened to something, a recording that I just happen to like, literally dozens of times, even 100 times, like no exaggeration, and then the 101th time that I hear that, it's like, oh my God, I get it. It finally clicked. Like I heard it, but the deeper meaning and the understanding finally clicked. Now, how would we get to that point if we hear one thing once or read a book once and put it down like, okay, now I know. Well, I'm so educated now. It's the repetition to remind yourself. Those new neurons that are firing together with a new experience or a new thought have to grow those synaptic connections and lay new neurological pathways in the brain. You're literally using mind, the function of the brain, to create a new brain. So your level of consciousness can create a new level of mind because it's rewiring, reworking the brain. It's neuroplasticity. Like they've actually filmed and recorded this stuff. It's fact.
Yeah.
And that's so exciting because that means you can become anybody you desire to be and do anything you desire to do and have anything you desire to have.
What a liberation that
is. It is. And so with that, we're just rolling today, aren't we?
Please, something is on your chest and you desire to unpack it. We are happy to do so. Leave it in the comments.
Totally, because we're just going to talk. So unless you have something, you're going to just listen to us. However, I heard you say this like 2 years ago probably, and it stuck with me. And lo and behold, I was listening to a YouTube thing last night, and it came up again. And I was like, damn, how brilliant. So this comes from the Bible. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth. And to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Like, I'm just going to read that several times a day, every single day, because that can mean so many different things, and it's highly subjective. But what an optimistic, beautiful perspective. And can you disprove this? So the question becomes, in my mind at least, is are you consciously aware of this is a formula that you can use to increase, and it's also a formula you can use unconsciously to decrease yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Ask and it shall be given. Now, I'm not talking about, and I think a lot of people mess this up when it comes to like meditation prayers. They ask for something. Well, really, when you ask for something, you're subjectively at least communicating lack, that I don't have it, that's why I want it, so I'm asking for it. But what if you reframe your relationship with the word ask? What if ask and it shall be given means you ask, I desire to have this, and now that I've asked for it, I'm going to feel a state of gratitude for receiving it. Like, thank you. So instead of, dear God, please give me a new bike, as a child would say, it's like, thank you so much for this bike and riding it, and like, ask and it is given. Like, we attract what we are in vibrational alignment with. Well, if you're asking for something and you really truly feel you don't have it, that's the underlying emotion, why would you ever get it? Because what you're broadcasting, your frequency is lack. I don't have. And I just desire to want. Well, as you wish, you're going to be given more of that. More things to ask for and want because you don't have. It's a perpetual state of scarcity. And, thank God, the law of polarity says, if that's true, then the opposite's true as well. That if you ask for something, meaning set your aim, and then the feeling is, thank you for receiving it, state of gratitude, it shall be given. That's the creative process.
So unpacking as you wish, do you observe the thoughts that go on in your mind? Are they negatively rooted? I had an experience this last weekend with some people who are very close to me, perhaps the longest standing relationship that I've ever had. And I noticed that the majority of the thoughts coming from this person, or the things that would come out of this person's mouth, were negative. It was pointing out everything that was wrong with everything. And as I sat there, the coach in me wanted to go, but it wasn't my place. However, how many times have I caught myself in that loop where I say, why is the world so tough? Why are things so hard for me? Why is it so difficult? And as you wish, I begin to experience more of those answers. However, if I became aware of my thoughts and reframed that and said, why am I so lucky? Why is everything just happening so easily? Why am I creating such an abundance of love? And reframe that. The outer reality then, and I have experienced this personally, the outer reality then reflects back to me all of the answers as to why that is. And in that world, it becomes a lot more fun.
Peaceful, relaxing.
Patty Cakes, glad the message resonates for you. And Donna, absolutely. We must come back home. If quantum physics can now explain how the process works, and don't ask me, I'm not a physicist, there's a lot to this, and how could they ever explain with science how creation existence works, but they've done enough studies to prove how it, prove that it does work, perhaps not being able to unpack how it actually works.
But I'm sorry to interject. This is so important for people to understand. It's like, oh, well, if I don't understand it, then I don't really believe it because I don't have evidence. But let me ask you a question. There's going to be a light switch around here somewhere. Like, you know how to turn on a light bulb by hitting the switch, right? Do you really understand electrical theory? Because that's all it is a theory. Nobody really understands what electricity is and how it operates and all that stuff. We know how to generate it, right? But nobody actually understands it. It's electrical theory. This is what I've been told anyways. So if you don't know how electricity works, do you walk around like, I don't know if I want to touch the light switch and turn the light on because I'm not really confident how it's going to operate. What happens if I touch the switch and it doesn't turn on? Like, you never ask those questions. You have faith and belief that you hit the switch, and so long as you paid your APS bill, the light's going to come on. So if you don't worry about that, why are you worried about not understanding like quantum physics and so on and so forth? Can you borrow the belief that there's science backing this? My apologies.
No, I love it. I don't think that we need to understand how it works in order to reap the benefit from it. I would say just go swipe and adapt. Give it a try. Watch your outer reality transform, and when you've experienced that tangible result, you will believe. However, there must be a dedicated period of time in which you practice a consistent 7-10 days, whatever, in order to get to that space.
Yes.
Because we're undoing a lot of the wiring that we've been working at for a really long time. So give it some time.
And so with that, Donna, He said, but I think it's definitely a time to have a slow down, turn inward, and return to God. Absolutely. But let me ask you this. Does that require a vacation to accomplish? What is your daily practice? You know, I look at it as self-love. Like self-love to me is not going out there and doing something nice for myself. That's called pleasure. And that's not wrong. Like, believe me, I love pleasurable things. A lot of them, actually, right? So I'm totally for that. But what I'm saying is self-love to me, what my definition is. I'm not saying it's the definition. It's mine. My version of self-love for me is, do I carve out sacred time every single day to sit with myself and increase my connection to Source and increase my self-love, my self-respect, and like define and redefine my aim and where I'm going and look at how far I've come, not like the lack of what's still not here. Like for me, that's my self-love. So if it's time to turn inward, what is your indicator to know this? So do you go 90 days, 6 months and be like, oh God, I need to connect to nature. I need to go on a vacation. Or do you just practice this every single day with consistency and frequency because you know it's the way?
Yeah, I've had an experience of using vacation as a form of escaping my reality. And so that it's all of God. And why not? Why live a life that you've got to escape from? Now,
why did you create it in the first place?
And I'm speaking from my own experience.
Oh,
I've had plenty of times in my life where I just don't really love what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, and perhaps caught in the trap of thinking that I need to constantly do it, and therefore an escape from it.
Oh, so good.
But I think that this can be your vacation. This can all be play when you learn how to create powerfully. This should bring joy to wake up and bring your beautiful creations into the world.
I want to just say that again, what you just said, because I think it's so vitally important for everyone to not only hear but understand and then sit with in your daily practice. Why have you created a life that you require a break from? Because we've both done this, right? In the early years before our path, the hustle and grind. You built an incredible business. You did the awards, the accolades, the posters, right? I did the same thing. But yet, what happened when you punch the clock at 5, 6, 9 o'clock at night? Alcohol. Something, reaching out for something external to dump it in, to just detach and check out. Like, I don't want to feel any of this anymore. Why do I require a break from this reality? And who in the hell created it? Like, did someone just dump this business on you and go, here, you're going to be successful in business, but you're going to sacrifice everything for it, and now you're a victim to it? Or did you unconsciously, consciously, intentionally, unintentionally create it? And I believe the beautiful thing is when you take ownership for your creation, like 100%, not 99.9, 100% responsibility for its creation. The beautiful thing is you liberate all that energy and power to come back to yourself, back to Source, and then redirect it to redesign the life you do desire to live that you don't want to break from. I do believe if you require vacation, your shit's broken. Can we say that on live? You know what I mean? Like, if you need a break from your day-to-day, what's your quote? If you're not having fun, you've misread the instructions. Like, I love showing up for my life every single day. And if it becomes monotonous or boring, like, whose responsibility is that? Who's not bringing the fun? Who's not bringing the high vibe? Who's not bringing the light, baby?
Yeah.
And why not? Like, it's not happening to you.
Yeah.
You're creating it.
You know, the construct of the Western world is that we've got to roll up our sleeves and fight this thing. We've got to work really hard if we want to get anywhere in the world. And that's just not true. And so we go to a job, we do a thing, we sacrifice to go earn a living, you know, so that we can survive. And this has been perpetuated in the collective, and so that we just think that that's true. But what I can say is if you tapped in and really found what your gift was, what it is that you really would do, whether money, you had all the time and all the money in the world, what is that one thing you would do? And not that one thing to make money, because you already have it. What's the thing you do? My meditation. I'd do that 95% of my days. And so could you go and invest time and energy doing this thing that you absolutely love? And when you're pouring that type of love in it, abundance of all other things comes to you. And, perhaps that method of how to monetize that thing reveals itself because you've gone from a place of true choice and a place of love. And now all of a sudden, this little thing that you do to fill your love cup is now bringing in a little income. And then it starts to open new pathways.
Totally. New doors, new opportunities. Yeah.
Kelly, in this current environment, are you feeling intuiting heightened energy available to us? Like breakthroughs are being facilitated if we just ask? I'm experiencing this in creative inspiration to write and more frequent goosebumps when I hit upon a truth. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And so what I'd like to ask you is what are you doing to create that space to make that connection? Like, what are you doing to open yourself up, to allow yourself to receive this? And what blocks did you have that did you notice, and how did you remove them? Like, that's super helpful.
There is, if you're energetically sensitive, and I would argue that women by nature and feminine energy is much more receptive and sensitive to those subtle energy shifts, and I absolutely believe we are in a heightened energy, and now more than ever is the time to ride that wave. I realize, and we had offline conversations about writing, keep going. Absolutely keep pouring your love into that and ride this wave. And the goosebumps are, perhaps just a little reminder or a God wink that you are on the right path. And, in my opinion, I think that if we all collectively had those gifts and we just shared them with the world, we would have everything that we could ever possibly want. I experienced, 10 days on the playa out at Burning Man, and no money was exchanged, and yet most everybody came to the desert to bring a gift, something that they were truly great at, and they would just share it. And you could just go around and experience all of these wonderful things that people brought, and no money was needed in that environment. And so, what's money useful for, and are we using it the right way? Or is it becoming a game, a way of manipulation and control? Some of those things are, time for us to ask the deeper questions. And, we vote with our dollar every single day. Every dollar you spend on something is going somewhere. And if we truly desired to change the landscape, we must just be conscious of what energy we are feeding that is allowing it to grow.
Totally. I'm so glad you're bringing that up. I think people don't understand that the consumer is the one with the power. You're holding the buck. Think about it. I watched this documentary, lots of them. I think it was Food Inc. And they were interviewing these executives at Walmart and walking through a Walmart store. And they're like, well, how come you don't have more of this? How come you don't have more of that? And he's like, listen, we'll stock the shelves with whatever the consumer wants. And the only way we know what the consumer wants is we put things out there, and whatever they don't buy, we change that with something else. And then when they start buying one thing, we do more of that. Ladies and gentlemen, people don't understand that we hold the power. It's not the big corporation shoving it down our throat. It's what people have been asking for. You have the power with the buck, and where you place it determines what that person will continue to do to get your dollar.
Yeah, can we all be a little bit more conscious on how we spend our money?
Yeah, talking about conscious, we don't have a ton of time, but I do want to kind of just unpack some things that we touched on briefly this morning before this. But like through my practice and my vibe, my game has been so high, which by the way, one of my new practices is juicing. And I'm not living on juice, I'm just enjoying some of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not supplementing a meal with it or no juice cleanse, nothing like that. Not that that's wrong or bad. But I've been super mindful of my diet and my morning ritual and showing up big and powerful to it. And what I'm noticing is I'm noticing a lot more things. I'm noticing more of the unconscious thoughts. I'm noticing more of the patterns that are still there. And not only am I noticing it, but now that I notice it, I get to choose different. And sometimes it can be scary or unpredictable, but I'm finding that it's becoming a lot of fun. And at first, it took a lot of energy to always be on and always be addressing these things and all these notices. And it felt kind of tasky and scary. But the more I just surrendered and accepted it, the more fun I'm having with it now. And the more that I catch these things, the more I get to choose differently and experiment and just try new things with myself and my emotional state. Like I was talking this morning, like there's been some things that have happened that I got super triggered, like, but before I respond, I like, where is this coming from? Why is it there? I know what feels natural, how I want to respond. Is that going to lead to the biggest and best outcome possible? Is that going to destroy things or help things flourish? Like all this stuff is going on and the process is picking up pace. Like it happens faster and faster and making more decisions quicker and different decisions and having new experiences. And the end result of an experience is a feeling. So I'm feeling different. Feeling more energy, I'm feeling more vibrant, I'm feeling more happy, I'm feeling more love. And it's just something I wanted to share. Like, I'm on this little kick that just kind of started happening, having a lot of fun with it. So, what's your practice?
Yeah. Well, I certainly subscribe to the belief. We're all in, and I use this with my kids, because it's a context in which they can understand. My oldest is into supercars, and so he could tell you, any kind of Ferrari or Lamborghini that drives by and all of that. It's quite impressive, actually. But then I observe some of the things that he would ask to eat, and I feel I am a little bit more restrictive to the things that he ingests, at least in my household. And I say, think about yourself as having this race car and that you are putting terrible gasoline in it. And so are we ingesting things that support that higher nature? I know for me, if I desire, for some reason, if I'm just not feeling it, I've had a long day and I want to go reach for some sugar after dinner, I notice that my mental processes in the morning are less clear. I'm more foggy. And when I converse with people, it takes a little more time to grab my thought and articulate it into words. And so is that supportive on the journey to that which I say I desire?
So your current diet, not being mindful, are you then, when you're not being mindful, are you orienting yourself to that aim of who you desire to be?
No, unconscious patterns.
Yeah. Speaking of the body and being the vehicle, I saw this. Did you ever realize how much your body loves you? I mean, it's always trying to keep you alive. That's all your body has to live for. Your body is making sure you breathe while you sleep, stopping cuts from bleeding, fixing broken bones, finding ways to beat the illness that might get you. Your body literally loves you so much. It's time to start loving your body back. And I believe with your consistency, right, of diet, movement, all these things creates a baseline. And so when you do something different out of the norm, intentionally or unintentionally, that deviates, you notice it, a significant difference. And that's good information. It's feedback. It's not bad. But like you used to drink wine at night. I used to drink a lot of wine at night. And not drinking now, like when you do have a drink, you notice it affects your sleep. It affects how you wake up. And we're not saying don't drink. Like don't take that out of context or twist or distort the information. What we're simply saying is when you have a consistent practice, a consistent way of being that you show up on a regular basis, When you deviate from that, you notice significant differences. And that's good information to know, because what am I going to stay away from, and how do I increase? How do I elevate? Well, let me have a baseline and practice and experiment with some things to increase. Oop, that decreased me. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Let's keep practicing. Let's keep discovering. Oop, that increased. Good. Let's continue that and adopt that as the new practice.
I can say that one of the problems with adopting a spiritual path and addressing all of these various facets of your growth is that you do set a new standard and a higher bar. And so any, let's call it a slip up, and notice it significantly. I eat a predominantly plant-based diet just because my body feels good. I don't call myself vegan or vegetarian or anything like that. Friends had a dinner party the other day, and we ate some red meat, and I don't really love the way it feels in my body, and I experienced that the next day. But I don't subscribe to a label. I'm just very cognizant of how my body feels, and organic food or whatever, high vibration diet, perhaps costs a little bit more. You've got to become a bit more creative on how you prepare it. And that can be a big process in and of itself. And, back to the expense piece. Now, how do you show up in the world? Are you more effective? Do you create more powerfully in the world? Can you look at it as an investment? And, it kind of breaks my heart a bit. I've got a soft spot for kids. And, these lower income households can, some of them can't really afford good food. And so they're kept in this kind of perpetual state of blah, just not feeling good, and their bodies feel sluggish. And so my heart breaks for those little kids, and perhaps that's their only reality that they know. So they don't know any different. But me knowing what it was like to take very good care of my machine, this vehicle that I've been given to walk about on the earth, I know what it's like to really be conscious about the things that I ingest.
Yeah.
And when I deviate and I slip up and I, have that glass of wine, or, I eat some sugar in a dessert because I'm feeling down, and this props me back up, at least temporarily, I feel the effects.
Totally. When I was, I think I was like 21, I had this sales job, and the owner of the company was just always so high energy, thin, like just a massive energy. Even, we would literally work from 6 a.m. to sometimes 10 p.m., and the guy was just on it. And I remember when I was new in the job, so I wasn't very good at it yet. I wasn't selling a lot, and I wasn't making a lot of money. So for lunch, what did I eat? Well, a 2-for-1 at some fast food. If I could eat lunch for $2, like, I'm doing good, right? Yet by night, and I'm just so depleted. And he's like, "What are you eating?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I had, whatever it was at the time, because I don't eat fast food anymore. But something at McDonald's, $1 spicy chicken sandwich or something, and 2 of those. You know what I mean?" He's like, "Well, why don't you go spend an extra $5 on lunch and get a salad or something, some good food, so you have more energy?" And I'm like, "Whatever, dude. Didn't you just hear me? I don't have the money." But he said that. Look at it as an investment in your energy.
Ooh.
And I heard him, but I didn't really hear him. Like, I didn't take it in. But now, like, ladies and gentlemen, do you not have the money to eat? Or, like, how much do you think it costs? So right about on the other side of this wall is Justin's chest freezer, where we did our cold plunge this morning. Fucking freezing, 34 degrees. There's ice in there, okay? It's beautiful, by the way. And so I'm looking to buy one. The last 90 days, it is impossible to find a new one for sale anywhere. They're out of stock and back ordered, and it's impossible. And trust me, I've looked everywhere. If you can find one, please let me know. Big enough for me to fit in. And so my point is this. In this Sphere Collective, people are hoarding these. Why? Because now they can store food. The question is, what kind of food? I know during the height of this pandemic and the lockdown quarantine, Going down the frozen section, guess what they didn't have any of? Processed shit food.
Mm.
You know, chicken nuggets, microwavable meals. And you know what they had a bunch of? Fresh produce.
Wow.
And one of my physical 90-day goal, because everyone's got 90-day goals, right? All you do, right?
Or you libertas people.
Yeah. Is no land animals in my diet. No chicken, pork, beef, turkey, you name it. None of it. And man, my energy is just through the roof. And again, I don't subscribe as vegan or vegetarian, and that's not what I'm going for. I'll incorporate some of that back in. But I notice my gut function. I notice my energy levels are so much higher. My lunches are full of quinoa and other plant-based protein and beautiful vegetables. And when I eat, I actually increase my energy, whereas before, eating something out, fast food, because, you know, I used to weigh 243, like, energy would tank and it's time for a nap. How is that going to be productive in creating the life you truly desire to live, if you believe that you're a creator, not a spectator?
Mm.
Like, how's your food game? Just something to take a look at. And not beat up, but like, what small, subtle things can I adjust to make a difference? Like, you don't have to just radically shut down what you're doing and start all new and fresh, although you could. I'm a full immersion kind of person. That's how I learn best. But what little small, subtle shifts can you make? Can you start making some lunches on Sunday for the week so you control what you eat, when you eat, and how much you eat during that sitting? Would that affect your energy levels? Would that affected energy level help you go like powerfully create what you desire? Would it give you the mental energy, the emotional energy, the physical energy to actually go execute and to maintain that state of being emotionally? Something to consider.
Yeah, I think there's many facets to address in expanding your potential, and obviously consumption is a big one. There's some people who don't even eat food. You know, they drink water and sit in the sunlight, called breatharians, and they live a wonderful existence. You know, it's our belief that we need food to sustain us that makes that true. But what are we doing? What are we putting in our machines? Are we consuming things that will support a higher vibration? And is it a good time and space to look at what we're ingesting and perhaps make some minor tweaks to get our machines running a little bit better?
Totally. And, you know, the perspective that I take is I'm not my body. It's not who I am. It's something I have. Right? How do I know I'm not my body? Well, because it's something I can observe. And so if it's my body, it's my vehicle, it's my vessel that houses me, might I want to take care of it for longevity? Like a car.
Yeah.
Would you not ever go for an oil change? Would you never rotate the tires? Would you never change the brakes? Like, if you don't, the vehicle stops working. And so same thing with food, movement. Like, what are you doing to maintain this? And why do you think it's not important?
Yeah.
Food for thought. Brunch.
Yeah, and you know, the studies that were done on the people in China that were dying from this disease were people who had massive disharmony in the body already. And the body just couldn't perform the function that it was designed to do, which is to fight off things. And so it wasn't the virus per se that they died from, but a disharmony in the body could not respond the way it should have responded. So can we all check in and improve our gut health and eat organic food? It was the, what did they say, the glyphosate from the Roundup that they used in the pesticides would kill the good bacteria in the people's stomachs over long-term use, as well as antibiotics that would kill the good bacteria in the stomach, kill all the bacteria in the stomach, right, in the body. And then the gut biome was no longer performing the way it should have, and so when they, you know, contracted the virus or whatever, their bodies could not fight it off like they were designed to do. So for all of us, let's just take a look at the things that we're ingesting. Are you drinking enough water? You know, are you cutting out the processed foods and sugars? Can you eat more plants, more fruits? Because that will absolutely make a difference.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we had no intention of talking about this today, but I do believe if you're paying attention to what am I putting into my body, How much sleep am I getting? What about sunlight? What about disconnecting from electronics and the concrete jungle and connecting with nature? What about movement? Like, what am I doing to be responsible to increase this vessel, to increase my energy, to increase my self-awareness? Because as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, disease cannot live in a body that is at ease. Disease cannot live in a body that's in homeostasis, that's in perfect working order. And listen, everyone gets sick, everyone dies. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the day-to-day type things. What can you do to give yourself a fighting chance? What can you do to give yourself the opportunities to succeed in all areas of life by being responsible and mindful about what you're doing with this vessel? Sun gazing. I have not tried sun gazing.
Yeah, Rebecca, love it. Fruits and veggies all the way. I attempt to do that with my kids the majority of the time. And Samantha, I have heard that you have to be in a certain state of consciousness in which that does not affect your retinas. Perhaps you could enlighten me on that subject. There are some Taoist practices of applying sunlight to certain areas of the body that don't receive such sunlight. And I have done that.
Have you? JP Sears does a little comic thing about it. I'm not gonna say it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I absolutely do believe that the sun is very regenerative in certain ways.
I believe we're at least semi.
Scientists would say, well, it's vitamin D that you're getting from it. I don't know. It's all energy, right? It's all energy. That's what quantum physics tells us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rebecca. Well done on your food game. It makes a big difference, huh? And so it's impacted on how you function. I would be curious to know, like, what was your point of reference? What did you do before this meal prepping with those certain kind of foods? How was your energy level? You know what I've noticed the most, ladies and gentlemen, is my food game, my movement game, those two combined have a significant and drastic impact on my emotional state. Think about it. I mean, if you're eating less desirable foods, processed foods, junk, a lot of sugar, alcohol, pastas, breads, things like this, and you have less energy to show up, because again, it's not what you do, it's who's showing up to the do, what's your state of being. Like, if you're not being mindful of these things, then who and how often are paying attention to your emotional state? Like, what are you getting triggered by? Can you calm yourself down before you respond? Like, how you think and how you feel determines a lot. And your food game and your movement game make a drastic impact on how you think and feel. What's more important?
Yeah, I experience that a lot on my runs. I try not to run a ton. I just get too skinny from it. But they say it's like what they call it a runner's high. When you're running for an extended period of time, and when I hit about 20-25 minutes, I get in this space where it just happens. And I'm just feeling so good and so happy, and I got beautiful thoughts in my mind, and I don't know if that's a serotonin or dopamine or something like that, but movement is absolutely a key ingredient to the recipe for creatorhood.
Totally.
Bodies were designed to move. You gotta move them.
One way or another.
Yeah. Let's see. I always felt sluggish. I needed an energy drink, but here goes. Peak health. Cool. Yeah, I love that. Cool. Good for you for taking yourself on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get. I mean, I used to be energy drinks. I used to
2
go.
a day.
It would be, can I get a triple cheeseburger from I remember working at a call center, and I would just go stop at the gas station and grab an energy drink and a triple cheeseburger from Burger King, and it was like, $7 all in, and I was good to go, right? But, what was the long-term effect of that? Perhaps I could stomach that when I was, 23 years old and didn't know a different way of being, a different level of energy. It just became the fish and water concept. I didn't know I was in water. And now in the process of ascension or taking myself on and growing and expanding, I now have taken myself out of the water, and I could actually see where my state of consciousness was before.
Totally.
And I do not desire to go back to what that was.
Yeah. I remember, well, about 3 years ago, before you and I met, really, I mean, started what we do. Breakfast was a monster, the blue kind, because low calorie, like that made a difference. And QT, at least then 3 years ago, had this breakfast pizza, so I get a slice of that. It tasted like heaven, but it's got to be the worst thing in humanity to ingest, right? Or it's a McDonald's breakfast sandwich, or Filiberto's and get a nice fat burrito. Like, who needs that many calories first thing in the morning, right? And an energy drink. It's just like toxin and poison just ingesting it. And then, because I had such a horrible lunch, pizza, cheeseburger, whatever. Well, guess what? After about an hour, you better get me some caffeine or an energy drink because I'm going to crash and want a nap. Literally, I would sleep at my desk sometimes. Like, how productive is this?
Got it. Thanks for the tip, Samantha. Perhaps I'll wear my Ray-Bans on my first go around. I don't know. Yeah, I love it. So, Mr. Thorstad and I were talking, and we believe that we should get clear on perhaps some actionable things that people can take with them. You've invested your time and space to be with us for an hour and 15 minutes on a Tuesday morning. I'd love to be able to provide some tangible things that you can move about. As we do this bi-weekly every other Tuesday at 10 a.m. Arizona time. The idea is holding that consistent space for us to each maybe take one little thing and go back into our world, implement that, and then we see a slight uplift in our vibe. We show up a little bit different. And so I've got 3 things in mind that I'd love to share, and perhaps something that you think, but maybe sums up this session. Back to what we first started on, fear begets more fear. And so, as we know, the outer environment is full of fear. We're seeing a lot of division, a lot of people projecting their pain and their fears on others. We need to be respectful of others. Everybody is working and projecting out of their pain, and it is not our job to go make them wrong for that. When we try to let me just elevate the volume a little bit higher. Let me just prove to them that they're wrong. We are just feeding more of it. Allow space for people to feel that fear and know that that's all it is. And for you to get back in your practice and say, just because the world is full of fear and chaos does not mean that I need to adopt that. It is a choice. And so knowing that fear begets more fear, choose love, go tap into your inner world. If you struggle at really reaching those depths of your being, who you really are, send a message to Mr. Thorstad or myself, and we would be happy to maybe help you adopt and create a sadhana, a daily spiritual practice to help you get into that higher vibrational state. Because again, if the collective is moving in a vibration of fear, that's what we're going to experience. But your job is to turn to the light. And so if you need help with that, certainly reach out. We're always happy to do this. We know that there's purpose behind the work that we do, so we'll always hold that space. The next piece is be conscious about where you spend your money. We vote with our dollar. Back to that part of the conversation. Be mindful about what your money is going into in this time and space. Do we understand the values of the organization? I love these little companies that pop up that have a deeper mission. 40 Ocean, who goes and is a for-profit company. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They go clean up ocean plastic. They're a for-profit company. Good. I'm all for people creating income. But doing something that's conscious and giving back to the world, because we need to protect our mother. That she is out of which we all grew, all of biology came from. And so we need to be in harmony with her. We cannot rob her anymore for the sake of all of our comforts. The next piece is watching what type of fuel you put into your race car. Using my context to my 8-year-old. Our physical vehicle is that which we get to walk upon this earth. Let's be incredibly conscious about what things we ingest and whether or not they are supporting our vibration or not.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 things.
Cool.
What do you have that people could take?
I really just want to elevate the last one. So, if you desire to increase your state and be responsible to be the creator of your reality, then this will be effortless and can be play and fun. Yet it will take some time, so patience is going to be necessary. And it's this. So, paying attention to the race car, what kind of fuel are you putting in? Are you willing to keep a little diary, a little journal, or even a notepad on your phone and document what did you eat every day? Find out what your baseline is. Get some consistency in that diet. And then for about a good 7 days. And then decide what you want to add to it that's healthier to replace, or what you want to subtract, the processed sugar, the alcohol, those kinds of things, if you're ready for that. And then start journaling and notice, how am I waking up? How am I going to sleep? Do I go to sleep and I fall asleep fast and I stay asleep all night? Or do I wake up and I'm sweaty and cold and all these kinds of things? So start paying attention to and journal. Be mindful of, what am I putting in my body and how does it affect my state? What I think, what I feel, what I focus on, my physiology. Pay attention, notice. And if you were to do that week by week, and within a month, 2 months, 90 days, your entire vibrational state can be radically different. You'll release more energy. You'll have more of you showing up to the party, a better emotional state, more mental capacity, more just vibrant energy available to you to direct towards your creation.
I bet that process would be quite revealing.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to notice a lot of beautiful things. Time to elevate the game, but it takes ownership and responsibility because no one's going to do it for you. So is it worth it to you? And again, what in the hell else are you doing that's so important? This is a game changer. Pay attention. Choose wisely. And have fun.
Yeah, love it. As we always say, you are capable beyond your wildest comprehension, and my deepest wish is for you to have a taste of the creator that you are.
Just a taste.
Just a taste.
It's
It'll
all
get
it takes.
addicting, I promise you.
Yep.
Love it. Good to be with you guys. Thanks for showing up as always. Deep appreciation and gratitude. Go out and be the light that you are.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
See you.